Hi everyone, I'm Liza Hofer. I'm here to talk about turning trash into treasure by recycling e-waste. A little bit about me first. I have been a nerd my whole life. I installed Linux first when I was 12. It was Debian stable. And then I'm a huge fan of internet history and culture. I still sit around in the IRC chat rooms to this day and chat with 40-year-old nerds. And also a big thing that made me is the nerdcore scene. Artists like MC Frontalot and Dualcore and whatnot. They've inspired me throughout my whole tech fascination. And I use Arch, by the way. That's obligatory. And here's my home setup. Typical Arch user stuff. So what is e-waste? E-waste is any device that it gets discarded. And it can include things that you wouldn't normally think of. You might think of computers, peripherals, but also this includes vapes and old phones and even like air conditioning units and like electric fans. And this happens for mostly 3 different reasons. 1, planned obsolescence. This is when a company wants a device to be obsolete so that you have to buy the new one. The next one, kind of the counterpart, consumerism. This is when you want to buy the newest thing so that you can either have status or efficiency. And then the third is lack of right to repair. When your device breaks, there's a bunch of proprietary tech that you have to either go jump through hoops to get your hands on or give up. Now, what problems does this cause? Well, unfortunately, it causes quite a few. If it'll click. Including the problem with many countries illegally dumping e-waste into other countries. It has social, environmental, and health problems that are associated with it, including the poisoning of groundwater and general deterioration of the environment. So here is a map of where e-waste gets exported, and if you know that meme, all maps are the same. All maps are the same. As you can see, most of the global south and the Eastern European and China and India tend to be the countries that get the most e-waste exported to them illegally, and this lowers the quality of life for the people in those areas significantly, especially because they don't have access to the resources to make the e-waste into something useful, whether it be language barriers or knowledge barriers. So now we get into the fun part, restoration. So this device I'm presenting from is a CF31 Panasonic Toughbook Mark II. It is super common to find on government auctions, and if they don't get bought, they just go to landfills. So I bought like 20 of them. And now the device itself is quite underpowered. So what I did was I put Arch Linux on it and made it a daily driver. But you don't have to go as hardcore as Arch Linux for this. You can choose a different distribution, like Antix Linux, the anti-fascist distribution, or MX, its cousin. These distributions can breathe new life into hardware, making it run as good as new, without all of the hassle of learning Arch, by the way. This is one of my servers at my friend's house. We have an OpenSUSE server, and we're working on getting virtual boxes that we can rent out, hopefully, eventually. But we host a chat service for just us and our friends on it, and we host Minecraft servers. You can do so much with just discarded e-waste. And it can be so easy to get your hands on if you check the government auctions. Go to GovDeals. Do it. Now, these have so many more uses, even outside of computers. Vapes can be turned into lighters. You can turn phones into storage if you have a phone that you just don't care about. It still has storage on it. If you have a USB, you can transfer files between it. You can also use it as server management. Just download an SSH client and manage your servers from your phone or a tablet. You can even mount it on the wall and then have a little station. Laptops. Laptops are a gold mine. You can do almost anything with an old broken laptop if you can fix it. And even if the screen doesn't work, you can always run it headless. But I like to make servers, bots, and one of my favorite things is local web apps. If you have a process you want to do, or an event you want to schedule, or a playlist you want to play, you can write a web app to do it and host it locally on your own network without worrying about sending it out to the open web. However, that does bridge us into what we should be doing with all of these computers that are out in landfills. We should be making websites. Well, let's cover limitations and barriers first. We aren't quite there yet. So a lot of the limitations and barriers, as we said, planned obsolescence, there's not a lot you can do about that sometimes. But there are hardware limitations. How we get around them is, like I said before, lightweight distributions like Antix or MX, as well as Arch. But there's also knowledge barriers. A lot of people don't have the time, energy, or desire to be nerds and go learn all of this on their own. If it's made simpler, easier, more accessible to the average person, like so many more people could build personal websites or share information about topics that they know about. And then language barriers. A big part of the problem is that this e-waste problem is so much bigger in other countries that don't speak the languages that we do. And because of that, they can't access the resources that there are on maintaining, repairing, and repurposing e-waste. To solve that, we bring in the social web. The social web, or the indie web movement, is a really fascinating movement where we are encouraging people to build their own personal websites and share like it's 2002 again. We want people to come away from these big social platforms that are focused on getting likes and upvotes and updates and everything, and focus more on the information we want to put out. Thus, the social and indie web has actually been booming lately. I think that if we make resources on the internet that are accessible in all languages to all skill levels, so many more people could share more information that they know about with other people in their languages. It would be a domino effect of helping other people fight this e-waste problem. So again, it helps to spread resources and information that people don't have access to right now. It empowers people to create resources themselves, and this is the really important part, because a lot of times we can't handle a problem this big ourselves. We need a movement or a collective effort. So this empowers people to learn and create resources for themselves. It also creates uses for all of this old tech that's just laying in landfills. Hundreds, thousands even, of laptops that could be perfectly fine if you put Antix Linux on it are just rotting when they could be personal websites for you or websites to help share information about solving the e-waste problem. And then, finally, it helps connect more people. In our current internet, I think we're significantly less connected than we were in the early 2000s, simply because the focus of what we're doing on the internet has changed. We're focused on ourselves mostly, getting the most likes we can, making ourselves seem as good as possible for a little bit of attention from a stranger. But in the older days, before I was born, the internet was much different. I have a source I'll cite because I wasn't around to live it. But the internet was a much more social, and I say social separate from social media. You went online and actually talked with people instead of making posts. You went into chat rooms, you went into message boards and read and wrote and created. Nowadays, people might create content, but no one's talking to each other. So that would help solve so much of the problems with e-waste and give uses to these devices. Now, with that, I have this QR code. If you are interested in resources for recycling e-waste, there's a bunch listed on my website right here. I'll probably add more to it as I continue to study e-waste and how to solve problems with it. And of course, the two sources that I cite. And with that, did anyone have any questions?
I do.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about the Lexington program and how they recycle that stuff?
I believe, like most recycling programs, there's actually in my resources a dismantling guide. I'm pretty sure most of the time they dismantle it, salvage parts, and then you give them to other parties to make something with the parts. Yeah, but there's thousands of laptops, and they all find their owners as they need them. I think if there's no more questions, that is everything.